Our series opens with a young man discovering an absolute nightmare. Army officers violently mutating into grotesque creatures in mere seconds. Fast forward more than 15 years, and we see the only survivor who managed to remain human. Though he is only 35 years old, the toll of his past makes him look like a frail man over 60, but in a split second he reverts to his natural youthful age. His secret: he was injected with the Spider-Man Noir serum. His dark story began back in his army days when he witnessed those horrifying atrocities. Since then, he dedicated his life to using his superhuman abilities as a silent savior, operating completely in the shadows. Not even his closest loved ones knew his true identity, but one night his entire world was shattered in an instant. They murdered his love, his wife Ruby. Broken and grieving, he swore he would live as a normal human being. He vowed to never be Spider-Man Noir again and to walk away from the danger for good. But driven by his innate, inescapable heroic instincts and a constant desire to help people, he took up a job as a private investigator, going simply by the name Ben. But how long can he truly endure this mundane life? Will the criminal underworld leave him in peace? Are the people around him truly his allies? Or is this all a massive, elaborate trap designed to destroy him? We are about to uncover the whole story. But first, this is Spider-Man Noir, this is Silvermane, and this is Sandman. Now, let's take it from the top. The real story begins after Spider-Man's official retirement. Now living as Ben the PI, he heads to a specific casino one night to tail a man named Edison, a routine job he was hired to do. But Edison immediately senses something is wrong. He frantically bolts, trying to lose Ben. Stopping in the middle of a dark street, his eyes wide with pure terror, he yells at Ben, "Leave me alone, you have no idea what they are capable of or what they want." Before Edison can even finish his sentence, another mysterious figure, who had also been secretly tailing Edison, emerges from the shadows. He strikes Ben hard to incapacitate him and sprints after Edison. A brutal chase ensues, one that Ben isn't even a part of. We soon learn that this strange new figure is actually another private detective. Ben eventually tracks them down to an alleyway. Suddenly, his dormant superpowers begin to violently flare up. His spider sense always triggers when real mortal danger is imminent. He knows with absolute certainty that a catastrophe is about to happen right here. And the catastrophe is revealed. Edison possesses superhuman abilities of his own. Fire violently erupts from every pore of his body, turning him into a living torch. Terrified, the other detective pulls his gun and starts blindly firing at Edison. Ben watches from the shadows, completely stunned by the chaos. Suddenly, a massive explosion rips through the alley. Without a second thought, Ben sprints into the inferno, using his enhanced speed to pull the rival detective from the deadly flames. Ben returns to his rundown office. His secretary is visibly annoyed because he hasn't paid her in a while, but that takes a back seat when a new client named Kim walks in. Kim is deeply paranoid, utterly convinced that his wife is cheating on him. He hands Ben her photo and the address she's heading to tonight, aggressively demanding, "You have to restore my honor? Bring me her head." Ben coolly shuts him down. "All I'm going to do is prove her infidelity with pictures. Nothing more. I don't do dirty work." Before heading to the stakeout, Ben meets up with the detective he saved the night before. They try to figure out why both of them were hired to tail Edison. It doesn't make sense. One tail should have been enough. Then Ben connects the dots. The mansion of the city's most ruthless and vile crime boss, Silvermane, recently burned to the ground. Ben realizes the truth. Edison did it. He's a literal human torch. Silvermane secretly hired both detectives to track Edison down, operating through a middleman to keep his own hands completely clean. Later that night, Ben is on his stakeout tailing Kim's wife. She meets a man in a secluded spot. Ben readies his camera to catch the affair, but the narrative completely flips. She isn't cheating. The man is actively trying to assault her, and she is fighting back with everything she has. Ben drops the camera. For the first time in 5 long years, he fires his web shooters. He swoops in using his dormant superpowers, brutally incapacitating the attacker and saving her life. He instantly vanishes into the shadows before anyone can catch a glimpse of his face. The next morning, we see the middleman, Winston, the guy who originally hired Ben to tail Edison, but Ben plays it smart. He corners Winston and renegotiates the deal. The fee we agreed on isn't going to cut it anymore. We are tripling it, and if you have a problem with that, go tell your boss. Winston realizes his cover is blown. Without saying a single word, he turns and walks away. But the second he leaves, Ben and the other detectives start tailing him. As expected, Winston leads them straight to the shadowy crime boss, Silvermane. While Winston relays Ben's demand for more money, Ben and the detective are hiding in the shadows, eavesdropping on the entire conversation. And just to be clear, no one here has any idea that Ben is actually Spider-Man Noir. With this meeting, Ben has absolute confirmation of the conspiracy. As they walk away, the other detective is practically blinded by greed. "Can you believe this, Ben? We just hit the jackpot. I'm going to extort Silvermane for as much money as I want." Ben isn't interested in his delusions. He looks at him and delivers one simple piece of advice: don't do that. Then he walks away, leaving the foolish detective to his own devices. But the idiot doesn't listen to reason. He goes straight to Silvermane himself and tries to blackmail the ruthless crime lord. The result is absolute carnage. Silvermane's goons destroy him. They beat him to a pulp, torturing him until he spits out every single piece of information he has on Edison without paying him a single dime. Tragically, the detective's life ends right there in the shadows, paying the ultimate price for his greed. While the greedy detective meets his brutal end in the shadows, Ben is safely back in his dimly lit office, developing the surveillance photos from the stakeout. As the images slowly materialize in the chemical bath, a visceral shock hits him. The man secretly meeting with Kim's wife isn't just some random lover, it is the city mayor. Heavily intoxicated, Ben spirals into a bitter, drunken rant. He stumbles around the office, slurring that the city is drowning in corruption and that Spider-Man Noir needs to return to drag the mayor through the mud. He turns to his secretary, his paranoia peaking. "I don't think that woman is Kim's wife at all. Kim played me. He just used me to dig up dirt on her. Why the hell am I always the pawn in these games?" Refusing to be anyone's puppet, Ben goes rogue. He heads out to meet Robbie, a seasoned journalist. Robbie is the only person in the world who knows Ben's true identity. He previously begged Ben to don the mask again to stop Silvermane, but Ben walked away, haunted by the memory of his wife's murder. Robbie delivers the intel. The mystery woman's name is Kat, and she owns a high-end nightclub in the city. Ben marches straight into her club, demanding to know why she is secretly meeting the mayor. Kat plays it cool, laughing off his threats with absolute arrogance. Ben walks away, but her tough exterior is a complete facade. Terrified of what Ben might uncover, she immediately orders her massive bodyguard to tail him. The bodyguard tracks Ben to a desolate rooftop. A tense confrontation quickly turns violent. The bodyguard demands to know why Ben is digging into Kat's life, and Ben flat out refuses to answer. A brutal fistfight erupts. Ben desperately holds back, refusing to use his superhuman strength to avoid exposing his identity. But the dynamic shifts horrifically. The bodyguard isn't just muscle, he possesses superhuman abilities too. His body begins to violently mutate into a swirling solid mass of sand. He is the Sandman. Left with absolutely no choice, Ben unleashes his dormant powers to defend himself. The fight is devastating until Kat suddenly bursts onto the rooftop, screaming at Ben to stop. The moment Ben backs off, Sandman reverts to his human form, but the severe blow to the head he took during the brawl leaves him concussed. He completely forgets the fight, and more importantly, he forgets that Ben possesses superhuman abilities. Ben thinks he has finally dodged a bullet, but the very next morning, trouble walks right through his office door. It's Kat. She is visibly frantic, begging Ben to find her bodyguard, who has completely vanished since the rooftop altercation. She clarifies a terrifying detail. His powers don't cause memory loss. The head trauma you gave him did. He's vulnerable and I need him back. Ben tests the waters, asking casually who the bodyguard really works for to possess such dark abilities. Kat deflects, begging him to just take the case. Ben sees right through her lies, but he agrees to take the job, knowing the best way to expose a liar is to keep them close. Ben's suspicions are confirmed when the narrative shifts to Silvermane. We see the crime boss furiously ordering his right-hand man, Winston, to track down Sandman. It becomes chillingly clear Sandman is secretly on Silvermane's payroll. Ben breaks into Sandman's apartment to investigate. Hidden away, he finds an old military photograph. Standing shoulder to shoulder with Sandman in the picture is Edison, the human torch from the alleyway explosion. Before Ben can process the massive connection, Winston breaks into the apartment, also searching for Sandman. Ben slips into the shadows, his mind racing. Sandman and Edison are military brothers, and both are tied to Silvermane. Back at the office, Ben's secretary delivers a crucial piece of intel. Sandman acquired his superhuman abilities very recently. This perfectly matches Edison's timeline. Ben immediately corners Kat. He confronts her with the fact that her bodyguard is tied to Silvermane. Kat vehemently denies any involvement. Silvermane just finances the club, she claims defensively. I manage it. The bodyguard works for me, not him. If there's a connection, I know absolutely nothing about it. Ben heads home only to find two of Silvermane's massive goons waiting for him. Instinctively, he prepares to unleash his powers, but realizes he isn't wearing his mask. To protect his secret, he immediately acts like a cowardly, goofy civilian. He takes a brutal beating and lets them drag him into their car. But halfway down the highway, Ben makes his move. He finally fires his web shooters, launching himself out of the moving vehicle and vanishing into the night in a split second. When he returns to his office, he finds his secretary packing her bags. Silvermane's men had tracked her down and threatened her life. She is completely done. She looks at him and delivers a crushing reality check. When you were Spider-Man, I felt safe. But now, you're just a washed-up, out-of-shape private eye. I'm better off on my own. Ben freezes. Wait, how do you know I'm Spider-Man? She rolls her eyes. Because every time you get drunk, you literally babble about your web-swinging adventures. Something inside Ben finally snaps. He opens his locked briefcase, staring down at the dark leather and goggles. Spider-Man Noir is back. Later that night, Silvermane and his heavily armed crew are out executing a massive illegal transaction. Suddenly, Noir drops from the sky. He tears through Silvermane's men with terrifying, absolute precision. He rips the door off Silvermane's car, grabs the crime boss by the throat, and delivers a chilling, violent ultimatum. "Stay away from me and stay away from my secretary!" Ben swings away, feeling like a hero again, but his victory is instantly shattered when Robbie calls him in a blind panic. "What the hell did you do?" Robbie screams. The police had a massive sting operation set up tonight. They were going to catch Silvermane red-handed. Your little dramatic entrance ruined the entire operation and he got away clean. While Ben grapples with his massive mistake, we see Sandman hiding out in a derelict warehouse with a friend of Edison's. Sandman's mutation is violently destabilizing. The sandy decay is permanently visible on his face. We learn that Sandman isn't working for Silvermane anymore. He is hiding from him. Sandman is desperately trying to figure out who manipulated his brother-in-arms, Edison, into burning down Silvermane's mansion. The plot twists violently when Silvermane actually shows up at Ben's office as a client. The crime boss wants Ben to find the rat in his organization who hired Edison to burn his house down. Silvermane reveals a terrifying piece of leverage. "I mark my money. Every single stack I pay my men has a unique microscopic trace. I know exactly whose marked bills ended up in Edison's pockets." Ben finally starts doing real detective work. First, he examines the retainer cash Kat gave his secretary. He checks the microscopic mark and realizes it does not match the specific trace Silvermane is looking for. Next, Ben visits the hospital to speak with the cops injured in the botched sting operation. He wants to know who the secret informant was that tipped them off to Silvermane's deal. The informant was the city mayor. Even though the mayor publicly played the role of Silvermane's corrupt political ally, he secretly refused to participate in his darkest deals and was actively trying to orchestrate his downfall. The web finally connects. Ben hunts down Kim, the client who hired him in the first place. Kim instantly caves. He confesses that Kat was never his wife. He knew Kat was secretly meeting the mayor, and he hired Ben to take photos so he could blackmail them both. Armed with the absolute truth, Ben storms into Kat's office. He lays the entire sprawling conspiracy bare. Kat is the mastermind. She hired Edison to burn down Silvermane's mansion to wipe the crime boss off the board. When Edison failed and Silvermane survived, Kat pivoted. She seduced the city mayor, manipulating him into using the police force to eliminate Silvermane for her. Kat doesn't even flinch. She doesn't deny a single word. Instead, she smiles, genuinely impressed by Ben's intellect. She leans back and begins to play the victim, painting a horrific picture of Silvermane's sadistic cruelty to justify her actions. Delivering a masterful non-confession confession, she has been playing them all. It becomes glaringly obvious that Ben has completely forgotten the devastating memory of his late wife. He is falling hard for Kat. She is the owner of a glamorous nightclub, effortlessly pulling him right into her orbit. Even after she subtly confesses to orchestrating the entire war, Ben privately rationalizes her actions. He thinks to himself, everyone despises Silvermane anyway. Can you really blame her? And since she hasn't technically signed a confession, to him, she is innocent until proven guilty. Ben leaves Kat's club and heads straight to Winston, playing a massive, dangerous bluff. He smirks at Silvermane's right-hand man and says, "Here is the deal. Silvermane hired me to find the guy who burned his house down. He is absolutely obsessed with it. I'm getting close. But when I find the guy, I could give the name to you first. You bring the rat to Silvermane, you become the hero. and you practically secure your place on the throne, but it's going to cost you. Winston takes the bait immediately and hands over a massive stack of cash. When Ben gets the money, he examines it closely. The microscopic mark on Winston's cash is completely different from the mark on the cash Silvermane gave him. Ben is slightly confused. Did Winston get this money directly from Silvermane, or is this from a different stash? But the pieces will fall into place later. Ben returns to his office. His journalist friend Robbie drops a massive update. He successfully tracked down Sandman. But Sandman wasn't alone. He was with Edison's friend, and this new guy has terrifying powers too. Robbie watched them brawl with the police and realized this new guy is virtually indestructible. His skin is like a biological armor. Not a single bullet or punch even left a scratch. And the best part? Robbie says, smiling, "I got it all on camera." Ben matches Robbie's enthusiasm with his own bombshell. Kat is the mastermind Silvermane is looking for, but Ben twists the narrative, desperately trying to protect her. She's in love with her bodyguard, Sandman. That's why she went to war. She was trying to protect him from Silvermane. Honestly, you can't blame her. The guy's an absolute monster. Robbie stares at him, completely deadpan. Right, sure. Let's just go with that. That very night, Ben tracks down Edison's wife. He plays the sympathetic detective, trying to make her feel safe, urging her to tell him the truth so he can protect her. But she sees right through his act. She steps close to him and sneers, "Do you honestly think I'm going to fall for that? You aren't here to protect me. You're terrified I'll go to Winston and tell him the truth, that Kat hired my husband to burn the mansion. Silvermane would kill her in a heartbeat. He'd never suspect her behind that innocent, angelic face she puts on." Seeing Ben visibly tense up, she goes in for the kill. She issues an ultimatum. "You either pay me exactly what I want, or I walk straight to Silvermane and tell him absolutely everything." The real shock isn't the blackmail, it's the price tag. She demands a sum with 4 zeros. Ben, a struggling PI, barely has 2 nickels to rub together. Before he can even try to negotiate or plead poverty, she coldly cuts him off, telling him the price is non-negotiable. With absolutely no other options, Ben dons his mask. Spider-Man Noir swings directly to Silvermane's heavily guarded mansion. Using his webs with absolute precision, he breaches the vault and steals several massive stacks of cash, an exorbitant fortune in 1995. Ben meets Edison's wife, hands over the massive payout, and tells her to disappear forever and take the secret to her grave. What he doesn't realize is that Winston was secretly tracking him the entire time. Believing the crisis is averted, Ben calls his beloved Kat to tell her everything is handled, but he is stunned to hear her frantic. She is already packing her bags, terrified that Edison's wife will sell her out to Silvermane. She refuses to stay in the city for another second. Driven by his blinding infatuation, Ben rushes to her side to stop her. "Why would you leave your own country? You belong here." He proudly reveals he has completely taken care of the problem, permanently silencing Edison's wife. Kat stares at him in sheer bewilderment, completely unable to process why this private detective would risk his own life and a massive fortune just to protect her. As Ben leans in, trying to play the suave romantic hero, the door is violently kicked open. Winston and a squad of heavily armed goons storm the room. They drag Ben and Kat straight to the boss, Silvermane. Silvermane has already prepared the perfect setting for their execution, an open grave, waiting to swallow them both and bury the secret forever. And standing right next to the grave is the final guest. It isn't just Kat and Ben. Winston also captured Edison's wife. She is supposed to be the star witness and confess everything to Silvermane, but Ben plays his final brilliant card. He looks at Silvermane and scoffs. "Why the hell are you trusting Winston? Have you even heard a single word from her mouth? Why are you taking his word as gospel?" Intrigued by the challenge, Silvermane pauses the execution to let the woman speak, and she delivers the ultimate twist. She confesses to the conspiracy, but with a slight lethal alteration. She doesn't name Ben as her co-conspirator. She points directly at Winston. "He paid me to stay quiet," she says, effectively framing Silvermane's right-hand man. Winston loses his mind, frantically screaming that it's a setup. Silvermane, his patience completely exhausted, issues a simple command to the woman. "Show me the money he gave you." The brilliance of Ben's earlier play is finally revealed. The woman hands over the cash Ben stole from the vault. Silvermane checks the microscopic trace. It is the exact specific mark assigned to Winston's personal stash. The trap meant for Ben completely backfires. Winston is violently thrown into the grave he dug for them, and Edison's wife is tossed in right after him. Ben watches the execution, feeling a cold wave of relief. The very next day, Ben and Kat are closer than ever. She takes him to the very first stage she ever performed on, opening up to him about her dark past. Silvermane may have helped me when my life wasn't too bad, but then he took over completely. He owned me. He wanted me all to himself, but he didn't actually want me. When I finally fell in love with someone else, Silvermane killed him just to make sure I remained entirely devoted to his club and his business. That's why I had to destroy him. Ben is completely captivated by her vulnerability. He has no idea that Sandman, her loyal bodyguard, is hiding in the shadows, listening to every single word. But before we see what Sandman does, the scene shifts to Robbie. Robbie has tracked down Bob, the indestructible friend of Edison. Bob reveals a horrifying backstory. During his time in the army, he was subjected to countless agonizing human experiments by German scientists. Robbie is stunned. "Stop right there. You need to come to the office right now. We need to talk." They head to Ben's office. Meanwhile, Sandman, the bodyguard who practically triggered this entire massive war, makes a shocking move. He walks straight into Silvermane's headquarters and turns himself in. Seeing Kat completely infatuated with Ben and entirely unbothered by Sandman's disappearance shattered his loyalty. He remembers exactly how Kat acts when she wants to trap a man in her web. Disgusted and heartbroken, he completely abandons her and joins Silvermane. The crime boss is absolutely thrilled to have a superhuman enforcer back in his ranks. Back at Ben's office, Robbie and his secretary hit a dead end. Bob doesn't have any specific details about the terrifying experiments he was subjected to, but the secretary remembers a vital piece of the puzzle. If you want the real details, you need to find Dr. Vibra. She was the head of the operation, and the only person who knows how to find her is Ben. But Ben is entirely preoccupied. He has taken Kat back to his apartment, a place no woman has entered since his wife's murder. He pours his heart out, telling her about the epic, tragic love he shared with his late wife and how he hasn't been able to love anyone since her enemies took her from him. Realizing he is dangerously close to accidentally exposing his superhuman identity, he quickly pivots. "You never told me. Where were you planning to run off to?" Kat smiles, spinning a beautiful, idyllic lie. "I was going back to a remote, quiet island in my home country, a place where I can live a normal life, far away from all these mutating monsters." She leans in, taking his hand, softly convincing him that if he went with her, he could finally find peace. He could finally open his heart again to someone he truly trusts. Suddenly, the romantic moment is violently shattered. The radio crackles with an emergency police broadcast. A new, terrifying superhuman is wreaking havoc in the city, tearing through the police-like paper. Believing it's Sandman, Kat panics and sprints out the door. Ben immediately suits up, hoping he can swing in as Spider-Man Noir and neutralize the threat before anyone gets killed, but he has no idea what he is walking into. He gets absolutely brutally beaten. The new villain isn't Sandman, it's a walking generator, Electro. He absorbs and weaponizes raw electrical energy. Noir realizes he can't overpower him with brute strength. He formulates a desperate, agonizing plan. Noir intentionally acts as a human lightning rod, absorbing massive, agonizing blasts of electricity, enduring the torturous strikes until Electro completely drains his own power reserves. Once the villain is entirely depleted, Noir severs every power source in the area, leaving Electro completely powerless. Noir easily incapacitates him, leaving him for the police, and swings away into the night. But standing in the crowd, watching the entire brutal fight, is Kat, and a dark suspicion forms in her mind. She is almost certain that the superhuman hero swinging away into the night is the exact same man she just left in the apartment. Kat visits Ben's apartment. He is utterly exhausted, his face bruised and battered from the brutal fight with Electro. She looks at him, her eyes narrowing with suspicion, and casually asks, "I heard Spider-Man caught that new superhuman tonight. Is that true?" Ben tries to play it cool. "Yeah, of course it's true. Weren't you there?" But Kat is determined to force his hand. She casually walks over to the open window, sits on the ledge, and deliberately lets herself fall backward into the empty air. Pure, unfiltered instinct takes over. In a fraction of a second, Ben fires a web, catching her mid-air and pulling her back to safety. Kat just looks at him and smiles. Her suspicions are absolute fact now. But this newfound connection is about to trigger a catastrophic nightmare. We flash back to the grim days of the war to uncover exactly how Ben became a superhuman. Ben was a highly decorated, formidable officer. One night, while inspecting a medical tent of wounded soldiers, he stumbled upon an absolute horror. A soldier who had grotesquely mutated into a spider, the sickening result of the German experiments Bob had mentioned. The mutated creature lunged and bit Ben. In that exact moment, Spider-Man Noir was born. Using his terrifying new abilities, Ben single-handedly saved an entire trapped battalion. And the men in that battalion? Sandman, Bob, and Edison. Back in the present, the tragedy of that battalion continues. Sandman approaches Bob, desperately trying to recruit him to Silvermane's syndicate. Traumatized and entirely convinced that Cat betrayed him, Sandman's worldview has gone pitch black. The world will never accept us, he tells Bob. Silvermane is the only one who appreciates our power. Ben returns to his office, deciding he is completely done with Cat's games. His secretary delivers a massive lead. She tracked down Dr. Vibra, the head scientist who oversaw the chemical mutation project. Ben immediately infiltrates the hospital and breaks into her office, desperately searching for files. But suddenly, the door handle turns. Dr. Vibra and her assistant walk in. Trapped, Ben instantly pivots into a bizarre, chaotic act. He pretends to be a completely unhinged, twitching lunatic who stumbled into the wrong room, babbling absolute nonsense. The second they are distracted, Ben dives backward out the window, firing his web to snatch the classified files on his way down. While Silvermane personally orchestrates a prison break to recruit Electro to his ranks, Ben and Robbie review the stolen files. The horrific truth is laid bare. Dr. Vibra wasn't trying to cure the soldiers. Her treatment slaughtered them, and the few who survived, like Bob and Edison, were mutated into monsters. Believing the trail is finally dead, they agree Robbie should just publish the exposé. But suddenly, the entire game flips. Ben is formally summoned to Silvermane's headquarters. When Ben walks into the room, his blood runs cold. Standing beside Silvermane is a terrifying superhuman army: Sandman, Bob, and Electro. Silvermane called Ben there to deliver a chilling message to his friend, Spider-Man, back off. As Ben turns to leave, Sandman steps right behind him and whispers, "Don't think I don't know what you're hiding." Ben's heart stops, but Sandman isn't talking about his powers. He's talking about Ben's feelings for Cat. Sandman issues a lethal threat. "If you ever go near her again, I will take your head off." Ignoring the threat entirely, Ben goes straight to Cat. He pours his heart out, telling her about Dr. Vibra's horrific experiments, and begs her to run away with him to the peaceful island she dreamed of. Cat smiles and agrees, but her eyes betray a dark, sinister trap. While she is packing, Bob frantically knocks on her door. He tells her Sandman is mutating completely out of control and desperately needs her help. Cat rushes to the hospital and intercepts Dr. Vibra, begging for a cure for her bodyguard. Dr. Vibra delivers a chilling reality. "There is nothing I can do. The only possible cure must be synthesized from the blood of the very first mutant, Spider-Man, and no one knows who he is." Without a single second of hesitation, Cat sells out the man who loves her. She looks Dr. Vibra dead in the eye and reveals that Spider-Man is Ben. While Ben is sitting in his apartment, blissfully dreaming of his future with Cat, a knock echoes at his door. It's Dr. Vibra's assistant. The massive, horrifying twist? He isn't just an assistant. He is Dr. Vibra's own son. He is the man we saw at the very beginning of the story. He is 35 years old but looks over 60. His superpower is the horrific curse of accelerated aging. Before Ben can even process the shock, the son plunges a massive syringe of heavy sedative straight into Ben's neck, instantly knocking him out. Ben wakes up violently strapped to a hospital bed. Dr. Vibra stands over him, her eyes completely devoid of humanity. She begins ruthlessly draining his blood, treating him like a lab rat. She stabs him with needle after needle, bleeding him dry until he is practically a human sieve. Her own son is absolutely horrified by the butchery. "Stop! You're killing him!" he pleads, but she snaps back, completely consumed by her work, demanding samples from every inch of Ben's body. Behind her back, the son secretly tries to care for Ben, giving him juice and trying to keep him alive. Ben realizes the son is a victim too, trapped under the control of a psychotic mother. After 2 days of relentless manic work, Dr. Vibra finally synthesizes the cure. She tests it on her son, and in a miraculous instant, his decaying body violently reverts to his true 35-year-old self. Overjoyed, the son begs her to let Ben go, but absolute greed has poisoned her mind. She completely refuses. She declares she is going to permanently freeze Ben, keeping him alive in a state of perpetual agony so she can harvest his blood forever. She plans to use him to engineer new, customized superpowers for the highest bidder. Realizing his mother is a monster who will never stop, the son makes a tragic choice. He grabs a gun, fully intending to execute Ben himself just to spare him from an eternity of torture, but he never gets the chance to pull the trigger. The hospital doors are violently breached. Silvermane and his entire army of superhumans storm the facility, and they aren't there for a cure. Silvermane came to hunt down anyone with powers and absorb them into his empire. In the exact moment the doctor's son raises the gun, aiming it at Ben, he freezes. His hand trembles and his voice breaks. "I have to get you out of here. She will never let you go, and you're the one who tried to save me." But before they can make a move, the heavy lab doors are violently kicked open. Silvermane and his superhuman enforcers storm the room. They immediately lock eyes on a single vial resting on the counter. Dr. Vibra has successfully synthesized the cure. Despite the absolute butchery Dr. Vibra inflicted upon him, Ben's heroic instincts kick in. He tries to shield her and her son from Silvermane's bloodthirsty crew, especially when he sees the cold, murderous intent in the mob boss's eyes. Ben looks at the doctor, disgusted but desperate. "Could you really do this to any of us?" As she scrambles to defend her twisted actions, her son steps forward. Driven by a newfound courage, he raises the gun he took from his mother and fires at Silvermane's men, but he is outgunned. The tragic irony seals his fate. He lived his entire life trapped in the body of an old man, and the very second he regained his youth, his life is brutally cut short. Realizing there is absolutely nothing left to save in this twisted laboratory, Ben grabs the vial of the serum and violently launches himself out the window, escaping into the night. The next morning, Ben is in horrifying shape. He is dangerously pale, physically hollowed out, and entirely drained from the agonizing bloodletting. He is barely clinging to the health of a normal human, let alone a superhuman. Sitting in his office, he looks at his friend, Robbie, with pure exhaustion. "I'm done. I'm taking the serum. I just want to be a normal human being again. I don't want this power anymore." But Robbie steps up, delivering the harsh, grounding reality check Ben desperately needs. "You were created to protect the weak, Ben," Robbie says firmly. "This serum? It belongs to Bob, Sandman, and Electro. They deserve the choice to take it and find peace, or refuse it and face the consequences. But you don't get to quit. You are the only one who can save this city from Silvermane's corruption." The words strike a chord deep within Ben. The heroic fire reignites. He manages to recover some of his strength. When his secretary walks in, he tries to playfully surprise her, dramatically revealing, "They tried to take my powers because I am Spider-Man." She just rolls her eyes, completely unfazed. "You literally remind me you have superpowers every 3 hours, Ben. The last time you complained, you were terrified your powers were gone. They really scrambled your brain, didn't they?" Ignoring her sarcasm, Ben gets to work. He carefully divides the master serum into 4 separate syringes, 3 for the mutated men and 1 as a backup. Ben's first target is Bob. He tracks him down, fully suited up as Spider-Man Noir. But the moment Bob sees him, he violently mutates into his massive armored form, completely losing control of his mind. Spider-Man dodges his devastating blows and finally manages to plunge the syringe straight into Bob's neck. Snap! The needle completely shatters against Bob's impenetrable biological armor. Suddenly, police sirens wail. The cops arrive and Robbie is right behind them. In the absolute chaos of the crossfire, Robbie sees an opening. He takes careful aim and fires a dart loaded with the serum directly into Bob's eye, his only vulnerable spot. In a fraction of a second, the serum takes effect, and Bob's superhuman armor dissolves. But even as a normal human, Bob is a massive, towering brute. The police swarm them and a chaotic brawl erupts. Spider-Man defends Bob, Bob defends Spider-Man, and eventually Robbie manages to drag them both to safety. Completely drained of his energy, Ben slumps against a wall. Bob looks at him, deeply confused as to why this vigilante, who he was just trying to crush, risked his life to save him. Robbie claps Bob on the shoulder, hands him a stack of cash, and tells him to disappear and start a new life. Back at the office, the secretary makes a catastrophic rookie mistake. She visits Ben to check on him, but completely fails to notice she's being tailed. The door violently shatters. Sandman and Electro storm in. They aren't looking for Spider-Man. They are looking for Ben the Private Eye, under strict orders from Silvermane. Ben plays the part perfectly, walking out with them like a man marching to the gallows. He shoots a desperate, knowing glance at Robbie, who is holding the remaining syringes. They drag Ben straight to Silvermane's hideout, sitting right next to the crime boss's cat. Silvermane looks at Ben with absolute disdain. "That little spider friend of yours thinks he's a monkey swinging around my city. I know he has the serum that cures my freaks. You are going to call him, and you are going to tell him that if he doesn't hand it over nicely, I'll take it by force." Ben smirks. Your wish is my command. He picks up the phone, calls Robbie, and plays the hostage perfectly. Hey, Silvermane wants the serum, bring it over. And grab me a candy bar on the way, my blood sugar is crashing. Minutes later, a figure drops from the ceiling. It's Spider-Man. Electro instinctively recoils, terrified of the vigilante who previously humiliated him. Even Sandman hesitates. Spider-Man tosses the syringes directly to Electro, but the moment Electro holds the source of their power in his hands, absolute greed takes over. He looks at Silvermane and sneers, "Why the hell should we listen to you? The power is ours. Why should we be your lapdogs?" To prove his point, Electro fires a massive bolt of lightning, blasting Spider-Man against the wall. Sandman nods in agreement. A mutiny has officially begun. Wanting to see the face of the hero who tormented them, Electro rips off Spider-Man's mask. It's Robbie. Complete shock ripples through the room. Realizing his friend is about to be slaughtered, Ben drops the helpless PI act. He fires his web shooters, violently yanking Robbie out of the line of fire and launching into a brutal brawl to protect him. In the chaos, Silvermane realizes he has lost control and makes a run for it, but Kat is right behind him. She chases him down an alley, raising a gun to his back. Finally shedding her innocent facade, she unloads her absolute hatred for the man who ruined her life. "You're garbage," she spits and pulls the trigger, delivering the fatal execution Silvermane deserved. Meanwhile, Ben is trapped in a nightmare 2-on-1 fight against Electro and Sandman. It's a losing battle. The city is glowing with electricity, giving Electro an infinite power source to draw from. Ben desperately tries to inject either of them with the final remaining syringe, but they are too unified, protecting each other's blind spots. Kat suddenly returns to the warehouse. Seeing Electro about to kill Ben, she aims her gun at the living generator and pulls the trigger. Click. The gun is empty. Electro turns his terrifying glowing eyes toward her and prepares to fry her alive. But Sandman intervenes. Despite her betrayal, he still loves her. He violently tackles Electro and a massive clash of superhumans erupts. Seeing the opening, Spider-Man leaps into action. Enduring agonizing surges of voltage, he webs Electro tight and violently launches him straight upward, right as a high-voltage electric subway train speeds overhead. The massive surge overloads Electro's system, completely neutralizing him. Down on the ground, Sandman is critically injured, his sandy form collapsing. Kat falls to her knees beside him, weeping, her genuine love for him finally breaking through her web of lies. Ben walks over. He looks at Kat, the woman who manipulated him, used him, and sold him out to a butcher. But Spider-Man Noir is a hero. He suppresses his own broken heart, hands Kat the final syringe, and allows her to inject Sandman, curing him and giving them a second chance at a normal life. With the corruption violently ripped out by its roots, the city finally breathes again. Robbie uses his inside knowledge to open his very own highly successful newspaper. The secretary packs her bags and heads back to her hometown to live a quiet, peaceful life. And Ben? He puts the mask back on. The shadows of the city still need a savior, and Spider-Man Noir keeps swinging.